In the trenches, long rifles often failed, where compact power was needed most. These sidearms were the final line of defense. Here is every pistol used in World War I. We start our list with Austro-Hungarian Empire, Rast and Gasser, M, 1898. This 8-shot revolver was a staple for Austro-Hungarian officers. It was known for being incredibly solid and reliable in the mud of the trenches. The double-action trigger made it quick to fire in a pinch. Up next, Gasser M, 1870. This massive sidearm was originally designed for the cavalry. It fired a huge 11mm cartridge that packed a serious punch. By the time the Great War started, it was definitely showing its age, but it remained a powerful choice for those who carried it. Gasser M, 1873. An evolution of earlier designs, this model featured a much stronger steel frame. It was a rugged tool, built to withstand the harsh conditions of military service. While bulky, its durability made it a trusted companion for many soldiers on the front lines. Gasser Kropatschek M, 1876. This was a more compact version of the heavy service revolvers. It was light enough for officers to carry comfortably, while still providing dependable firepower. The design was elegant, yet functional, bridging the gap between old-world style and modern combat needs. Steyr M, 1912. Often called the Hahn, this semi-automatic was famous for its internal magazine fed by stripper clips. It was extremely robust and could handle the dirt and grime of mountain warfare. Many soldiers appreciated its high-velocity rounds and excellent build quality. Steyr M, 1912 P16. This rare variant took a standard design and turned it into a fully automatic machine pistol. It featured an extended magazine and a shoulder stock to help control the rapid fire. It was an early attempt at providing massive firepower in a handheld package. Now this is the Steyr M, 1907. This was the first semi-automatic pistol adopted by a major land power for its cavalry. It has a unique striker-fired mechanism that was ahead of its time. The long trigger pull acted as a safety, making it ideal for use while on horseback. Steyr M, 1909. This small pocket pistol was often used as a backup weapon or for deep concealment. It was sleek and easy to carry, making it a favourite for staff officers who did not want a heavy holster. It proved that even a tiny firearm could be a lifesaver in an emergency. The next one, Frommerstopp. This Hungarian design used a complicated long recoil system that was surprisingly reliable. It had a distinct shape and was manufactured to a very high standard. Despite its mechanical complexity, it served faithfully throughout the entire conflict. Frommerbaby. This was a scaled-down version of its larger brother, designed for easy carry in a pocket or vest. It retained the same high-quality construction and unique recoil system. It was a popular choice for those looking for a compact personal defense weapon. Moving on to Belgium, Nagant M, 1878. This Belgian design was a precursor to one of the most famous revolvers in history. It was a sturdy, double-action sidearm that paved the way for future innovations. Its simple operation and rugged frame made it a very dependable tool in the field. Nagant M, 1883. This version was simplified for military use, often found in a single-action configuration. It was built to be tough and easy to maintain, which was exactly what was needed during long campaigns. It remains a fascinating example of late 19th century firearms engineering. Up next, FN Browning M, 1900. Designed by the legendary John Browning, this was the first pistol to successfully use a reciprocating slide. It was incredibly popular across Europe and saw extensive use by both military and civilian users. Its low profile made it very easy to point and fire. FN Browning M, 1903. This was a larger, more powerful evolution of earlier blowback designs. It was adopted by several nations because of its excellent ergonomics and rock-solid reliability. It set the standard for what a modern military sidearm should look like. FN Browning M, 1906. This tiny vest pocket pistol was a marvel of miniaturization. It was so small it could disappear into a hand, yet it was a fully functional semi-automatic. It became the template for nearly every small pocket pistol that followed for decades. Then FN Browning M, 1910. This compact design became infamous for firing the shot that sparked the entire war. It was sleek and very easy to conceal. It used a simple blowback operation that influenced handgun design for many decades. Moving on to British Empire. Webley Mark IV. This sturdy top-break revolver was a mainstay for British officers before the larger models took over. It fired the heavy .455 caliber rounds. It was known for its incredible reliability, even in the muddy trenches. Webley Mark V, a transition model that brought several improvements to the front lines. It featured a reinforced cylinder to handle the more powerful, smokeless powder loads of the era. It served faithfully until the most famous version arrived. Up next, Webley Mark VI. This is perhaps the most iconic British sidearm of the entire conflict. With its large frame and square grip, it was a beast of a weapon. It could be reloaded very quickly thanks to its automatic ejection system. Now this is the Webley RIC. Originally designed for the Royal Irish Constabulary, this compact revolver saw plenty of action in the Great War. Its solid frame made it very durable. It worked well, even if it lacked the quick reloading speed of the top-break models. Webley Fosbury Automatic Revolver. A truly unique design that combined a revolver with an automatic action. The recoil actually rotated the cylinder and cocked the hammer for the next shot. It was complex and sensitive to dirt, but a true marvel of engineering. Enfield Mark II. An older service piece that stayed in use long after newer models appeared. It was a rugged, double-action revolver that did its job without any fuss. It might have been dated, but it was still a capable tool in a fight. Now this is the Orbea Hermanos, produced in Spain. These were essentially copies of American designs meant to fill the massive demand for sidearms. They provided much-needed firepower to Allied forces when domestic production could not keep up with the scale of the war. Trocaola 455 revolvers. These Spanish imports were chambered in the powerful British service caliber. While the quality varied between different manufacturers, they were generally robust. They were reliable enough for the brutal conditions of trench warfare. Lancaster Howder pistol. A massive multi-barrel beast that was originally meant for hunting big game. It was a terrifying close-quarters weapon. Each barrel fired a heavy round, providing a wall of lead that few enemies could survive at short range. Up next, Webley Self-Loading Pistol Mark I. This was the Royal Navy's attempt to move into the modern age of semi-automatic handguns. It had a very distinct and blocky appearance. While it worked well in clean environments, the harsh mud of the trenches was a significant challenge. Let's move on to France. Model 1892. Often called the Lebel revolver, this was the primary sidearm for French officers. It was elegant and very well made. It featured a cylinder that swung out to the right and was chambered in a controllable 8mm caliber. The next one, Chamelot Delvigne, Model 1873. This heavy and older revolver was built like a tank. It was a holdover from an earlier era, but its simple and rugged construction meant it rarely failed. Many were still in service when the first shots of the war were fired. Then, Chamelot Delvigne, Model 1874. This was a refined version of the previous heavy revolver, intended specifically for officers. It featured a fluted cylinder to save weight and had a slightly better finish. It remained a dependable secondary weapon throughout the long years of fighting. Then, Orbea Hermanos 8mm. These were Spanish-made revolvers chambered for the French service cartridge. Because French factories were overwhelmed, they turned to Spanish makers to fill the gap. These provided a steady and vital supply of sidearms for troops in the field. Trocaola 8mm. This sturdy Spanish revolver was a vital gap filler for French forces. It handled the 8mm Lebel cartridge with ease. It may have been a simple design, but its reliability in the mud was highly valued by those in the trenches. Ruby M, 1914. A no-nonsense sidearm produced in massive numbers to meet the desperate demand of the Great War. It lacked refinement, but made up for it with a large magazine capacity. Soldiers found it easy to operate and even easier to maintain in harsh conditions. Star Model 1914. Often considered a high-quality alternative to other Spanish imports, this pistol featured a comfortable grip and a smooth action. It served reliably across various fronts. It proved that mass production did not always mean a drop in craftsmanship during a crisis. Then, Astra Model 1915. This rugged blowback pistol was another essential Spanish contribution to the Allied effort. It was simple to manufacture and sturdy enough for the harsh life of the front lines. It did its job without any unnecessary flash or flare. Continuing with German Empire. Reich's Revolver M, 1879. This massive single-action beast was a relic of an earlier era that still saw heavy use. It was incredibly heavy and slow to reload, but its solid construction was nearly indestructible. It remained a common sight among secondary troops and artillery crews. Revolver M, 1883. A more compact version of the older service model, this revolver was much easier to carry on a daily basis. While it was still technically outdated by the turn of the century, its rugged dependability kept it in service until the very end of the conflict. Luger P08. Known for its iconic toggle lock design, this pistol is perhaps the most famous sidearm of the entire conflict. It was prized for its accuracy and sophisticated engineering. However, it was also notoriously sensitive to dirt and debris found in the mud. Then, Luger LP08. This long-barreled variant was designed for artillery crews who needed a compact alternative to a full rifle. With its adjustable sights and detachable shoulder stock, it offered impressive range for a handgun. It was a sophisticated solution to a difficult tactical problem. Next, Luger M 1906. Featuring an early grip safety, this model represented an important step in the evolution of this famous family of firearms. It was sleek and well-balanced. Many of these early versions found their way into the hands of officers who valued precision above all else. DWM Parabellum M 1900. This was the original design that started it all. Chambered in a smaller 7.65mm caliber, it introduced the world to the unique toggle action system. It was a mechanical marvel of its time and highly sought after by collectors later on. Up next, DWM Parabellum M 1911. A rare sight on the battlefield, this refined model showcased the peak of early 20th century pistol design. It was built with incredible attention to detail and tight tolerances. It remains a testament to the high standards of German manufacturing during the period. Then, Mauser C96. Instantly recognizable by its unique broom handle grip and integral box magazine, this pistol was a favorite among frontline officers. It fired a high-velocity cartridge that gave it incredible punching power. It was a complex but effective weapon for its time. Mauser C96 Red 9. To simplify logistics, this variant was converted to fire the standard 9mm ammunition. The large number 9 was burned into the grip and painted red to prevent soldiers from loading the wrong caliber. It was a powerful and intimidating tool in close-quarters combat. Now this is the Mauser M1910. This diminutive pocket pistol was surprisingly well made and easy to hide. While it lacked the stopping power of larger combat handguns, it was a popular secondary choice for staff officers and aviators. It proved that small size did not have to mean poor quality. The next one, Mauser M1914. A slightly larger and more robust version of its predecessor, this model was widely issued to police and military units. It was extremely reliable and featured an innovative slide lock mechanism. It was a practical and dependable sidearm for daily carry throughout the war. Dresser M 1907. This strange-looking firearm was designed by Louis Schmeisser. It has a very distinct and top-heavy profile. It served as a reliable secondary sidearm for German officers throughout the conflict. Walther Model 4. This was a larger and more practical version of earlier pocket models. It proved to be a solid choice for the German military. One unusual feature is that it ejects spent casings from the left side. Walther Model 6. This was an ambitious attempt to use the powerful 9mm Parabellum round in a simple blowback action. It was a bit too much for the design to handle. Consequently, very few were ever produced. Next, Beholler Pistol. This was born out of wartime necessity. It is a simple and rugged handgun that was easy to manufacture. It provided a much-needed backup for soldiers in the trenches. Sauer M 1913. This pocket-sized weapon is known for its high-quality construction. It features a unique tubular slide and a very comfortable grip. It was quite popular among staff officers. Then, Langenhahn FL Selbstlader. This design focused on ease of production during the middle of the war. The FL in the name stands for Friedrich Langenhahn. It is a straightforward blowback weapon that did its job well enough. Next, Jaeger Pistol. This was remarkably ahead of its time because it used stamped metal parts. It has a very industrial and boxy appearance. While unusual, it was a clever way to speed up manufacturing. Schwarzlose Model 1908. This is one of the most mechanically unique handguns on the list. Instead of the slide moving back, the barrel actually moves forward to cycle. It is a fascinating piece of engineering. Leonhardt Pistol. This is another variant of the Beholler design produced under contract. It is a dependable and no-frills sidearm. It filled the gap when the main factories could not keep up with demand. Mentz pistol. This was produced by August Mentz and is another relative of the Beholler family. It is a small and compact handgun intended for secondary use. It shows how many different shops were helping the war effort. Next on the list is Italy. Bodeo model 1889. This iconic Italian revolver is instantly recognizable by its folding trigger. Soldiers often called it the sheep's head because of its frame shape. It remained a rugged and loyal companion for decades. Tettoni model 1916. This was a Spanish-made copy of a popular American revolver design. Italy purchased many of these to make up for equipment shortages. It provided a heavy and reliable punch in close quarters. Glisenti model 1910. This semi-automatic was quite complex and expensive to make. It had to use a reduced power 9mm cartridge to prevent it from breaking. It is a very elegant but delicate piece of machinery. Brixia model 1913. This is a slightly cleaner version of the Glisenti design. It removed the grip safety to make it a bit simpler for soldiers to use. It still shares the same beautiful but complicated internal mechanics. Beretta M1915. This was the very first successful semi-auto from a famous Italian company. It was simple and reliable and paved the way for many legendary designs. It served with distinction across the Italian front. Beretta M1917. This sidearm was a simplified version of earlier designs. It was chambered for the .32 ACP cartridge. It proved to be a reliable and compact choice for the front lines. Next up, Japan. Type 26. This was the first modern revolver adopted by its country. It featured a double-action-only mechanism and a top-break frame. While simple to use, the lack of a hammer spur made it harder to fire precisely. Nambu Type A. Known for its distinct appearance, this was a high-quality automatic. It used a unique recoil system that influenced later designs. It was a prestigious but complicated piece of engineering. Nambu Type B. This scaled-down version was much lighter and easier to carry. It was often bought by officers as a personal sidearm. It remains a rare and highly sought-after piece of history. Next on the list is Montenegro. Montenegrin Gasser M 1870. This was a truly massive revolver. It fired a very powerful 11mm round. The king actually made it mandatory for every male citizen to own one. Montenegrin Gasser M 1873, an updated version of the famous heavy revolver. It maintained the large frame and heavy caliber of its predecessor. It was a rugged tool that served well into the 20th century. Next up, Portugal. Abadi M 1878. This revolver featured a clever safety mechanism. Opening the loading gate disconnected the hammer from the trigger. This allowed the user to rotate the cylinder safely while loading. Up next, Abadi M 1886. This was a refined version of an earlier design. It was built to be tough and easy to maintain in the field. It stayed in service through many years of conflict. Next on the list is Russian Empire. Nagant M 1895. This sidearm is famous for its unique gas seal system. The cylinder moves forward to bridge the gap with the barrel. This prevents gas from escaping and slightly increases the muzzle velocity. And our last category is United States. Colt M 1917. Produced to meet a huge demand for sidearms, this revolver used half-moon clips. These clips allowed it to fire the same .45 caliber ammunition as the standard automatic. It was a solid and powerful backup. Smith & Wesson M 1917. This was another large-frame revolver adopted by the military. It was prized for its very smooth, double-action trigger. It provided much-needed firepower when automatic pistols were in short supply. Colt M 1909. Originally built for service overseas, this heavy revolver returned to the spotlight. It was chambered in a powerful .45 caliber round. It was built on a large frame for maximum durability. Colt M 1892. This was a pioneer as one of the first swing-out cylinder revolvers. It represented a major shift in how sidearms were loaded and fired. However, its .38 caliber round was often seen as underpowered. Then, Colt M 1894. This model introduced further improvements to the internal safety and locking systems. It saw extensive use throughout the early 1900s. It paved the way for the more modern revolvers that followed. Next, Colt M 1896. This was a minor update to the standard service revolver of the era. It focused on making the action smoother and more reliable under pressure. It was a familiar sight in the holsters of many soldiers. Up next, Colt M 1901. This double-action revolver served as an upgrade to earlier models. It was reliable enough for general duty. However, many soldiers felt the .38 caliber round lacked the power needed for intense combat. Colt M 1903, Army and Navy. This was a pioneer in swing-out cylinder technology. It allowed for much faster reloading compared to older designs. It saw plenty of action in the early 20th century before being phased out for heavier hitters. Then, Colt M 1911. This iconic semi-automatic was a game-changer on the front lines. It fired a powerful .45 caliber round and could take a beating in the mud. It is widely considered one of the greatest combat pistols ever designed. Colt M 1903 Pocket Hammerless. This sleek little pistol was a favorite for officers who needed a discreet backup. Because the hammer was hidden inside, it never snagged on clothing. It was surprisingly accurate for such a small frame. Next, Smith & Wesson 455 hand ejector, built specifically to meet the high demands of the British military. It was a massive and sturdy frame revolver. It could handle the harsh conditions of trench warfare without missing a beat. Smith & Wesson Triple Lock. Known for its incredible precision and engineering, it featured a unique third locking point for the cylinder, which made it exceptionally strong. Many experts still consider it a high point of revolver craftsmanship. Next, Colt New Service. This was a real heavyweight of a handgun. It was large and powerful. It was adopted in massive numbers to fill the shortage of semi-automatics. It proved to be an absolute workhorse for both American and British troops. Smith & Wesson, model number 3. An older design that stayed relevant because of its fast top break action. When you opened the frame, all the empty shells popped out at once. This made it much faster to get back into the fight. Up next, Smith & Wesson Model 10, a legendary six-shooter that was simple and effective. It was light enough to carry all day, but strong enough to survive the war. It started a legacy of service that would last for nearly a century. Savage Model 1907. This pistol stood out with its high magazine capacity and unusual shape. It was marketed with the famous slogan, 10 shots quick. It saw service with several different nations who needed every reliable handgun they could find.